Good morning and welcome to Coffee Ann, the longest running panel discussion show in American radio. To make a comment or ask a question of the panel, call 401-766-1240 or email coffee@woonsocket.radio.com. And now, let's join the Coffee Ann panel.
It's Coffee Ann here on ON AM and FM. Thanks for joining us this morning. It's Wednesday. It's October 30th, day before Halloween. Nice to have you all with us this morning. My name's Joe Callahan. That's Tim Draper right over there. Hi, Tim.
Hey, Joe. Good morning, everyone.
Nice to have you back with us.
Hey, it's great to be here.
Melissa Smith is here as well from the St. Antoine Communities. Hi, Melissa.
Good morning. I love how we're all back in our summer attire.
I know. It's only
The last few weeks we've been bundled up in like
tomorrow.
turtleneck sweaters, and I'm like, oh my God, tank tops are back.
Gotta take the cover off the pool.
So we're going to switch things around just a little bit in terms of sponsorship. Tim's going to move to the second one because John Ward will be in at 8:30, and he has purchased the third and the fourth segment of Coffee Ann. But the first segment, sponsored by the St. Antoine Communities.
It's worth John to pay the money to be with us, Melissa.
Well,
that's the way I look at it.
know.
It's all about wanting to be here that badly that
I
he's
hope
going
you
to pay
charged
the
him
money.
a lot. This is prime real estate.
yes,
this spot is prime real estate. I hope you upped his.
It was double.
Yeah, yep. We're going out to lunch on what extra was paid.
All right, Melissa, time for first message from the St.
So
Antoine
wait, do I get to
Communities.
double up? Do I get to go longer than 60 seconds? Can I go in?
Has that ever stopped you before?
I know, really.
Just
I
kidding.
should put a stopwatch.
We'll get a
Joe,
little red
let's
zone. Look at
let's
the big
switch
timer.
spots. I'm going to the primary mic. I'm just kidding. So I'll talk a little bit about kind of something that just happened yesterday, but seems to be like a regular occurrence. And it reminded me of Tim and how often he talks about these like safeguards with, security breaches and all that kind of stuff. And this is a huge departure from that, but it reminded me of the frequency that this happens in my line of work. So I thought I'd reference it and share with you all. On a regular basis, I meet with families who are coming to me to move their loved one from another facility over to St. Antoine Community because they've run out of resources where they live. So an example would be they live in a private assisted living. They've been there for 10 years. They've spent their very last dollar and they have nowhere to go because they've been kicked out, essentially. And no one likes to use the term kicked out, but that is an internal industry language choice. And it is a real thing that does actually happen. Private facilities, when you run out of resources, cannot have you stay if you can't pay the rent. So my PSA to all of you that are listening is shop around for a facility that allows you to age in place. Stay where you are, regardless of your resources. Don't pick that place because it may have a few extra bells and whistles or a few extra amenities that they've, that have sparkle and glitter on them. Find a place that no matter what happens to you, no matter what circumstances, no matter how you progress physically or financially, or cognitively, no matter what it is, find a facility like St. Antoine Community that just will allow you to come in, take a breath, and age in place. Because we hate having people come see us on that very last dollar and not have a spot to offer you. There's only so many Medicaid waiver spots that we have on our property, and we want to make sure that we're not turning anyone away. That is part of our mission, is to be able to support you, help you age in place, and surround you with all the supports and love that you need at this point in your life. So the nutshell is reach out to me at 767-3500 as you're doing your planning process, as you're curious about what that looks like and what the placement process looks like. Explore your options, soup to nuts, talk about the inevitable, talk about the stuff you don't want to talk about, and we'll help you put a plan in place. But do not call us when it's too late. Because we may not be able to help you. So just wanted to put that out there into the universe this morning. I guess it sounds kind of negative to be the opening message, but it was a real conversation I had yesterday and one that I have often, and I want to make sure folks learn from it. So again, 767-3500, Melissa Smith, call me if you need me.
Very good, Melissa. Thank you very much. All right, things going on in the news, and Tim, I'm thinking you will be pretty happy when the news broke yesterday that the Woonsocket police made an arrest in the bank robbery of the Milford Federal Bank on Diamond Hill Road. And we had the police chief on like a week or so ago, and it had just happened. And, of course, he couldn't talk too much about it because the investigation was ongoing. He's like, all he really said was, they couldn't. They could have lived across the street because there's a bunch of apartments across the street. Right. And he goes, but we're not sure, but we're checking all things. He goes, but I'm pretty confident we will have an arrest like within a week. Yeah. And they arrested a man in West Warwick. Yeah. Oh, that came up to make to do this alleged. Well, it was a bank robbery, but the man's been arrested for it. I'm like, wow.
I mean, criminals, I guess, by nature, are not smart. by definition, are not smart. But
Well, they think they're smarter than the police. Which
maybe
always cracks me up.
But the reality is they're gonna get found. They're gonna get caught because there's so many security protocols in place for every bank and every credit union that's out there. Cameras are everywhere. We're gonna get pictures. You can't even hide, even if you put masks and stuff on.
Well, he did, and if you look at the pictures that they released,
Yep.
I'm like, I can't even tell if it's a man or a woman.
You and I couldn't,
Right.
but the police can. I think
I
they're
guess they
very well
can.
trained at how to spot. And,
But he had a hoodie,
Yep.
hood up,
Yep.
mask on.
Yep.
And even the police chief said one eye covered
Yep.
to make it even more difficult to
It
recognize.
could be.
I'm like, wow.
They could find you. I would imagine, because I don't actually know this for a fact. You could ask the police chief next time he's in. But if they left a note that they hand wrote,
They did.
There's penmanship.
Yeah.
You could check somebody's penmanship.
Yeah.
Against databases that are around. You get the flock camera system everywhere. If they drove a car, we're going to get license plates as you leave the building if they're visible, and then we're going to see it somewhere else in the city. So it's very difficult to get away with that. It's not Ocean's 11 or whatever.
Do we think there's like a retinal scan component to cameras now? Like, so creepy thing. I was at the optometrist 2 days ago, and I'm doing this new test. I don't know. You wear glasses. Have you done this where you look at the little starburst that looks like a Walmart symbol and it bounces all over the screen, and then they scan your eye and it's like a retinal test?
I have done that one, but
I think so.
All I could think was, where are you putting that like little image you just took of my retina?
Yeah.
You know, and you just wonder if all of this is being compiled into a cloud somewhere, but also part of that like extra tier protection, because
Very-
you're
very Big
assuming most
Brother-like.
folks are probably seeing an eye doctor at this
Yeah.
stage in our life, but who knows? I know, I'm just throwing another thought bubble out there.
There are plenty of ways that law enforcement can figure out who did stuff like that. So my advice is don't do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now the question that I have for you now, Tim, because I asked the chief this question, and it was, I said, do the financial institutions reach out in different communities to you to have you or someone in your department come to the institution to go over what should be done in a scenario like this?
Yeah, so
and the answer was no, but he'd be more than happy to do something like that.
Well, the places that are fortunate enough to be able to have a resource like our chief security officer. So I think you may have met Steve Ormrod. He was at our
Okay.
senior safeguard. That's basically what his job
so you have
is.
someone to do that.
We have
Okay.
constant ongoing training, and it's when you first come in and you're first a teller. It's like one of the first things they do is they go through robbery training and they tell you how to handle a situation and not to panic. And fortunately, knock on wood, we've been lucky that they haven't been serious crimes. And by that I mean with brandishing guns all around and stuff like that. People will come in from time to time with a note, fill the bag up, and
Okay.
you're supposed to basically just do what they tell you to do, and then I mean that's nobody wants to get hurt. We don't want anybody to get hurt. But the reality is there's so many security checks in place that you're not going to get away with it. So even if you think you can,
Okay.
you're not.
All right. Well, I'm glad this person was caught, and we'll see if.
Yeah,
he
I'm
gets
sure Milford
charged with
Federal had all
something.
those security protocols in place, and I am
Yes.
sure that they turned those things right over to the police. And
The one
police
thing
do
you
their
didn't
thing.
acknowledge is this is Rhode Island.
Okay.
It's the smallest state. Everyone knows
Right,
everyone.
everybody knows everyone.
So how
Exactly. That's the
foolish. So
other
I know.
problem.
I love how you said he's from all the way in West Warwick, and I'm
Well,
thinking,
Like, oh, to pack
yeah, he
lunch.
made a stretch, went all the way to Woonsocket. Everyone knows everyone, so smarten up.
Right.
Well, the first news we got out of it was he made a run for it, and there was no car. Well, maybe it was, I don't know, off the road or
Yep.
something like that, which made me think maybe he just lives across the street in those apartments,
Yep.
and it was a crime of doing it instantaneously because
Yeah.
they needed money or whatever.
I wonder what
So
the
I don't know.
statistic is of living proximity to the crime that you've committed. If you're going to go rob a bank, do you go rob a bank way in another state or
away,
another part of the country and then come back? Or I mean, how?
Well, if you're watching, and I'm not a criminal, but if
But I
you're
play one on
watching and
television.
surveying, I like to think in the minds of the criminals. You have to assume like, hey, I'm only going to go a half hour away
Right.
because I'm staking out or I'm watching something. I'm not going to drive 3 hours away for.
right?
But not a financial institution, but up the road is Bullseye Shooting Supply, and this happened maybe a year and a half ago, where someone didn't rob them, but stole a gun from their place, made a run for it. They caught them, they were in Boston.
Wow.
So they made the drive down specifically to do this. So yeah,
That's dedication.
people do go far away
Yeah.
to try to
Yep.
do stuff like this.
Yeah.
So
Interesting. But the moral of the story is you're going to get caught. I don't care how much you think you get away with it. You are eventually going to get caught.
all right, for those of us that drive around the city of Woonsocket, the fun begins next week. We've had fun all summer, by the way, because
I heard.
they keep tearing up Hamlet Avenue because they were putting in the Rhode Island Energy was putting in pipelines, so they would tear it up.
Yep.
And then it would be a mess, and then they would put down the sort of paving on top
Yep.
of it. But now we start the whole thing all over again, starting this coming Monday, or it starts this week, the week of November 4th, at 7 a.m. They're going to mill it.
Yeah.
Oh, good. And then we wait a while. 'Cause
Yep.
I guess you have to. I'm not sure. I'm not a person that does this kind of thing. So, but then they'll start paving at the end of the week. So we mill at the beginning,
Yep.
take a day off, and then we start paving at the end of the week. So there'll be detours and delays are to be expected.
Right.
On Hamlet Avenue.
Shocker.
I know. Didn't John say that was like a big thing at the beginning of the year was what's happening with Hamlet Avenue.
Avenue.
So the city is the city paying for that, or is the
Yeah, because
is
it was
the-
we got the press release yesterday from the mayor.
Okay.
Chris Beauchamp announced that this is going to happen. So it's
All right, so they had-
the city's
so-
taking care of this.
Okay, so the Round Energy comes in. They do all of their upgrades. They must have probably gotten wind that the city thought they would pave Hamlet Avenue, so Round Energy went in and did their upgrades so that the city could come in afterwards and pave. Because wasn't there there was like a year transition for all the work
Yeah.
to settle. And I think that's what they do. When I worked at the gas company, I'm trying to remember how that worked. So when we would break into a street to put in a gas service or line,
Break in, get it?
it's a Freudian slip, everyone. You'd have to let some period of time go. I don't know if it's a year or if it's 6 months, where the ground that you've disturbed has to settle out. So they do their best to compact it, but then it has to actually settle. And that's why sometimes when they patch it, all of a sudden now there's a depression in the ground because the ground is settled under it. So they got to kind of come back and repatch it, and they got to let that until that doesn't settle anymore. Then they can come in and do the top coat essentially. And
So
it
you're
looks like
saying
it's
like
pretty.
even like winter, like frost heaves, all that, like settling. needs
Yeah,
to
all that
happen.
stuff needs to settle down. Now, when they mill it, they're just taking the top courses off. It actually will probably be a smoother ride for everybody at Hamlet Avenue for a little while.
It's
a little noisy,
bumpy right
but a
now.
little smooth.
Yeah.
And then they'll come in and pave it over. And then it will be really nice. And in 6 months, everybody will forget the whole thing.
Well,
I'm telling you, that's what happens. When Naperville Highway got paved several years back, it was the worst road on the planet to drive.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden, it got repaved, and you forget what it was like to drive on the disgusting road that was there.
Yeah,
Or do
then you
people-
drive on Menden Road in Cumberland, and then you're reminded of
you're
how
reminded
bad
of how
Diamond Hill
they-
was. Yeah.
but then do people start complaining now? Well, now people are speeding on Hamlet Avenue.
Okay, yeah, well, that's what happened on
Yeah.
Naperville Highways.
It-
People,
it
it became
is
a drag
nice.
strip.
Yeah.
The police were like, all right, so they were in full force there for a while.
All right, we're going to take a break here in the Coffee and program, and more coming your way. We got a note for Tim. All right.
Oh, boy.
Okay, so get ready. But time for a second message, Melissa, from the St.
I
There
didn't know this was working. I
here
thought
you
it
go.
was going to
No,
be
you got
like
another one.
no, you
so
You
this
go.
is exciting. Okay, because I did really want to take 2 seconds and just make an announcement that on November 8th, which is already next Friday.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy? So
Yes,
November
that's right.
1st is this Friday,
That's
my
right.
anniversary. And then
Congratulations.
November
a week-
1st? Okay.
Which, by the way, this weird funky weather that we're having
Note
right
to
now,
self.
this like high temperature weird thing happening
Yeah.
is exactly what I had on my wedding day
No
21 years
kidding.
ago.
Really?
Oh, 80 degrees, muggy. Ugh. But it was a lovely
In a
day.
winter wedding dress. Can
It
you
was
see
a
Which-
lovely day. I just had a vision of a fall, like whatever. Anyways, no one needs to know about that. November 8th, which is next Friday at 8 o'clock, we will be having a harvest festival at St. Antoine Residence. All are welcome to come. We're going to have lots of raffle baskets, a bake sale, and we're going to be kickstarting our food drive. Every year we do a big month-long collection of food donations. Usually we do our own Thanksgiving baskets up. This year we're going to be donating them to a local charity. But anyways, it'll be a big fun festival day. So feel free to stop by St. Antoine Residence, 10 Rhodes Avenue at 8 a.m. on next Friday. We'd be happy to welcome you in.
All right, Melissa, thanks. More of the Coffee and program coming your way. A note for Tim when we come back here on the Coffee and program.
Woonsocket City Councilor Dan Gendron has served Woonsocket well for years. When Woonsocket needed to replace an antiquated water plant for clean, safe drinking water, Dan did his part to see our new water treatment plant built and become the envy of the state. As council president, Dan saw his duty and did it, working as our mayor when the office was vacant and refusing to take the salary. Later, seeing a vacancy on the council, Dan won the special election to fill the vacant council seat. Now, with 5 of the 7 city councilors not running for re-election, Dan knows Woonsocket will need someone of his experience, dedication, and love of his city to stay on the city council. Whenever he's seen the need, Dan Gendron has stepped up and done what Woonsocket needed to have done. Now it's your turn. Vote for Dan Gendron for City Council.
Paid for by friends of Daniel M. Gendron.
The Coffee and panel is enjoying coffee from Down East Coffee Roasters. All their coffee is roasted right here in Rhode Island. Down East Coffee Roasters is available at all Little General stores.
ON Radio.
It's Coffee and on ONAM and FM. Thanks for joining us. Joe Callahan with Melissa Smith and Tim Draper. And Tim, time for a first message from Navigant Credit Union.
Well, I'm just going to make a quick announcement that for those folks in Cumberland Hill who use our ATM machine in Cumberland Hill and call me every other week and tell me that it's down, which is very frustrating. Old technology, old machine, it has really kind of reached its life expectancy. We are in the process today and yesterday and for the rest of the week of replacing that machine and adding another one. So we're gonna have 2 ATMs on that property.
Ask and you shall receive.
So we're gonna we're gonna put one in one of the drive-up lanes. So a lot of drive-up lanes and branches are going over to these ITMs. They call them interactive teller machines or teller kiosks, and basically you can talk to a person during the day using the machine and a camera, and it doesn't even have to be somebody in that branch. It's more than likely somebody at our call center in Lincoln. We're putting those types of machines in the location. So one of them is going to go in the ATM, one of the outside ATM lane. So drive up lane. That'll be an ATM, and then we'll still have a drive up, and then we'll have the traditional ATM out in the parking lot where it is now. Only it will be new and upgraded.
So
and
will it
replaced.
have one of those tubes like
Nope,
the other?
nope,
So
nope.
no. So this is just
No tube.
transactional stuff that you want to pull up and manage, like a drive-through teller.
It's like a drive-through teller, but it is an ATM, so you can get cash. You can get.
But you can ask
make
questions at
deposits.
the same time.
You can ask questions at the same time of people, of live human beings on screen that you're looking at, and they're looking at you because there's cameras.
Yep.
But it's the newest technology. Most of the institutions are deploying them now because even though they're more expensive, it allows you to have that personal experience at an ATM machine on your working hours. So if you don't want to go into a branch, if you just got to zip through real quick, but gee, I've got a question, click the button and you can actually talk to somebody in the contact center.
Interesting.
So
All right. Well, I'm
And
glad
are
to-
you raising the height of that ATM? I'm just.
Oh, man, here we go again.
So even at your main branch
I
on
know,
Route
I know.
7-116,
I had the same problem.
I'm like, geez, Louise, I gotta climb out. I gotta
I
reach
know.
down over my door.
I know.
Can we just acknowledge that cars are higher, people are like me are taller?
Well, I think we all figured that someday the cars would be smaller and more fuel efficient, but clearly it hasn't happened.
But
in
it made me
America,
laugh.
so.
I thought about Robin, right? And she said that she reaches over with her right
uses her
arm.
Oh yeah.
Right.
I thought to
I
myself,
still think
I
that's
can't
crazy.
even reach down with my left, never mind reach
My-
over
I know.
with my right. It's
I know.
just, you know.
I think they're probably going to go basically in the same spots as they've been. So sorry about that, everybody.
Well, flying cars are coming, Tim.
But they're
You
gonna
gotta-
be functional all the time.
You're anticipating
24/7.
there's going to be an upsurge in like
Oh,
Mustangs
we're
and Corvettes bought in the
right.
next like
Right, midlife
couple of
crisis.
years. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All
Not
right.
SUVs.
766-1240. Here comes the message. This one for Tim.
Oh, boy.
Tim, high yield savings accounts. Is it recommended by Navigant Credit Union? Could you outline the ins and outs?
Of a high yield savings account?
Yes.
Well, I mean, it's first of all, there's not tons of high yield savings accounts. Some of them that are out there are online high yield savings accounts. We tie our high yield product to a checking account, not necessarily a savings account. So our Journey Rewards checking, I want to say the rate right now is like 4%. I think. Sorry, if I don't know that exactly, but I think it's about 4%, and that rate is tied to a checking account. But in order to get the rate, there's a couple of things that you have to do, qualifications you have to reach and attain, that is really stuff that you do anyway. You have to have a direct deposit into the checking account. You have to have one electronic transaction out of the checking account. So one bill getting paid or something like that. And then you have to use your debit card 12 times a month. So if
That's a lot.
it's really not when you think about it. I mean, I can use my debit card 6 times in a day.
Oh, but not just at an ATM machine. You can
Yeah, no,
the
this is
purchase
anywhere.
system.
Purchase
Okay,
anytime.
okay.
You could buy coffee.
I was a little too narrow-minded.
Right.
There.
We've had when we first put the program out there, people would go to like a gas station and put in $1 worth of gas and use their card 12 times. Honest to God, they call it gaming the system. We've put some protocols in place that doesn't really happen anymore. But it was amazing to how people got around the 12 debit card transactions. But when you think about it, like my debit card's tied to my Apple Pay. So I generally don't even take my wallet out when I go to a business anymore. I just take my phone out, hit the my wallet, hit my my card, my debit card, and then do my transaction that way. So there's no card physically touching anything anymore. It's all electronic, which is actually far more secure, believe it or not, than putting a card in a machine and pulling it out.
Oh, sure.
So if you have a mag strip and you're doing it that way, that's probably the most challenging way you can be compromised easier using that method. The chip is different. The chip you tap, so you're not really putting anything into a machine. It's just touching the machine using this near field communication, radio frequency stuff. It's far more secure, harder for the bad guys to crack that. And then if you use that Apple Pay stuff, it's an Apple Wallet or a Google Wallet, it's even more secure. So there's less likely to be compromised that way. So it's interesting, all the different technologies that are out there. But high yield savings accounts are fine if you can find them, but a lot of local places don't necessarily have high yield savings accounts. They have they'll have high yield checking, and they'll have money market accounts that have very competitive rates to them. And a money market is somewhat like a savings account. Used to be that you could only do 6 transactions in a month out of a money market account. There was limited ability to access that money. Now most money market accounts act more like high yield savings accounts. So that was good, and we always encourage people to save. So if you find an account that you can bang out the highest interest rate, by all means you should do it.
Very good there, Tim. All right, the latest on this situation, there was a fire lieutenant at the TF Green Airport
saw that,
that they were trying to fire, and he was allegedly what he was doing was going around and to prospective employees and telling them, "Oh, you don't want to work here.
Yeah.
It's lousy here."
Right.
And so their numbers were too low, and now it's a safety issue. But the reason he's doing it allegedly was because he would pick up all the overtime hours.
Oh, God.
Right.
And they say last year he made $52,000
In overtime.
just in overtime on top of what he was already making.
Right.
So they find out about what he was
Slimy.
doing.
Yep.
And so now they're trying to fire him. Well, I don't know. Did you hear the?
I think
the
they
latest-
fired him yesterday, did they?
Well, yes, but now he's run to the union.
Oh yeah, the union's all over.
And the union is
Isn't
like,
he the president of the union?
I'm not sure.
I thought they said he was the president.
I
of the
just knew
union.
he was
I could be wrong.
a lieutenant down there. So he's going right to his firefighters union and saying, "Come fight for me." And what are they going to do?
Right, they're gonna fight for him. They have
Well,
to.
of course they are. So
But,
yeah,
that is just-
they got to fight the termination.
That is just one of those
Slimy.
loopholes in the system where you're like,
Slimy.
okay,
Yeah.
oh, you don't want to work here. It's horrible. These people.
Oh, yeah,
the
bad-
worst
bad
managers in the
hours,
world. Oh my God, I don't even know why I'm working here. I can't wait to get out.
Yeah.
Except I'm,
I'll
after
pick
I-
up your shifts. Don't worry.
Yeah, I'll
I don't
take
have a
care of it.
choice. I have to
Right.
be here. I'm the lieutenant.
Yeah.
It's funny when you started saying TF Green Airport, I thought you were going to bring up. I just saw a new commercial. Have you seen the commercial talking about TF Green versus Logan?
Oh, I've seen it. There's a bunch of them.
I just saw it for the first time
Yeah.
this
The
morning. I was cringing.
Don't
Why?
get the BS from BOS or something like
I
that.
just thought, ooh, it was really.
Oh, it went right after Boston. There's no doubt about it.
And I think, okay, in some ways, like, yeah, I agree. It's much
Everything
more
that
pleasant
commercial
to go.
says, I agree with that.
I do. I agree with everything. But I thought that's not friendly borders right there.
Oh
I
no,
mean,
it's not. That's a really competitive.
it's a really competitive ad, and I thought, who approved that?
Yeah. Well, the Rhode Island
That's
Airport
causing a
Corporation
little.
did.
That's throwing stones over the border.
I love Providence. My only problem with Providence is most of the flights out of Providence make you connect through something. There's not a
You
lot
have
of
to.
direct
There is
flights to where you want to go.
Unless you're going to like Baltimore, or
Right.
Philadelphia,
Right.
or Washington D.C.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's
Other
a
than
lot
that-
more to Florida than. But they're more
JetBlue
expensive. They're a
does
little
have,
more
direct
expensive.
flights.
So you got to ask yourself
They
the
are,
question.
but I have to tell you, every time you drive to Logan,
Right.
you're sitting and you're cringing. Why did I make
why
this
did
choice?
why did I save $25
And maybe
on a
going
flight?
out is never the issue. Going up to Boston is never the issue. It's when you get home late from a flight that might have been delayed, whatever,
now you gotta
and you're driving home and you're like kicking yourself. Why didn't I just spend the extra $50
right.
for the flight?
flight
I just
into
had this
Providence.
fight with my husband
Yeah.
going to DC in
Well,
the
you know what?
spring, and I'm
We're-
like,
I'm conditioned, and I'm guilty of it, of just booking a round trip flight.
yep,
Right.
It's just easier.
But you don't really have to. Many people now just
one-way.
book one-way flights to their because you can, like Southwest might have a real cheap flight down to Fort Myers, so you pick that one leg
Yeah.
up. But their return flight is super expensive.
Yeah.
So then you go, all right, well let me go look over here at Breeze, and Breeze's flight back
Yep.
might
be
be
cheaper.
a better and cheaper deal. So you just buy 2 one-way tickets.
Yeah.
And it's like it's exactly the same thing. as
I
a
think
round
if
trip
you're
ticket.
flying on your own, that is absolutely the right way to go. I think when you're dealing with more than yourself and
Yep.
you're multiple people, it just gets complicated, and it's easier just to
It does because you're going to buy
book.
lots of tickets.
yeah,
but
and then it's all saved in one spot, and it's just easier.
But if
to-
everybody's going to the same airport and everybody's leaving from the same, on the same airline, I'm sorry, and leaving on the same airline, it's just a matter of how many more tickets you have to purchase.
I was just thinking, then if you're like me, you forget what flight you booked for the return home, and you're going through your inbox or whatever, and you're looking for.
I can't help you with that, Melissa. You
It
guys are
happens
on
to me
your
with
own.
hotels all the time. I'll be like a week, 2 weeks out from something. I might have booked a hotel, found a better deal, booked that, forgot to cancel the other one. I'm
Yeah.
within like days of when I should be canceling the other one, and I can't remember the name of it. And I'm going
Hey,
through my inbox, just trying to find it.
I've gone to Florida with a group. We went to Florida on a cruise with a group of people.
Yep.
And we all booked our hotels, and we all said, okay, we all got Marriott points. We're going to book at the Radisson. So
right.
we all get on there, book at the Radisson. I get to the counter, and I'm like, okay, Tim Draper. And they go, we don't have a reservation.
Oh, I hate that.
I'm like, we don't have a reservation for Mr. Draper? Well, sir, could you have booked it at the Renaissance across the street? And I went, I
Yes,
guess
I
I
have
could
mine.
have.
I
So
could
I went
have.
across the street, and sure enough, I had a room across the street. My entire group is across the street and having fun, and I'm alone in the hotel across the street. I'm like, that really stunk.
Yep.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
funny.
No,
so
very
yes,
true.
I have messed that up as well.
Well, something to just consider if you will be flying soon. Rhode Island, TF Green Airport is getting a $10 million in federal funding.
Yeah, amen.
Renovations are coming.
Yeah, that's good.
I have to tell you,
Does
in
it need it?
general, yeah,
Well, in general, it's pretty good, but I think they're expanding some seating areas and hopefully
Yeah.
get
Yeah,
some
they
more
want to
seats.
modernize the terminal.
Yep.
They want to focus on improving passenger comfort, including expanding the seating areas and renovating interior spaces.
I wonder. I just feel like they should expand the terminal a little bit, make it a little bigger, but maybe they just
Maybe.
don't have that traffic.
I think
for it
the
yet.
only negative you have, and I just flew out of there this summer, and I thought it was a great experience. I'm like, wow,
Yeah.
it's clean. They had just redone all the
The
bathrooms.
bathrooms are phenomenal.
I know.
They might be the best
Look at us
bathrooms at
toting.
any airport
I
on the
have to
planet.
agree. There were even plants. It was
Oh my god, it was beautiful.
fancy tile. It was extra, but I have to say, it's always when you're leaving. I just feel like that whole strip of Post Road needs to reflect the modern and the
Right.
cleanliness of what's
Well, they
happening.
put a big sign out
so
on
it would
95
reflect
that
better
says
for
Rhode Island
Rhode
TF
Island
Green
if they did a
International
little something on Post Road. If they made that
in
look
both
a little.
in both
In
directions.
both directions,
on
yeah.
95.
Yeah.
They have the big sign.
I know, but then you pull off the exit and you're like, oh, this is a
Yeah.
dump. Like, I'm sorry, Warwick people. But it's just that feeling of it needs a little revitalization. You need something in there to make people want to stay, or if they are
Well, that'll be
staying
up
because
to
a flight
the-
is delayed, make
there's
it kind of fun.
there's
That'll
at
be up
least
to the
one
city.
closed hotel I think that's
Yeah.
there, and I forget which one it was, but yeah,
I know. Well, you have
that's economic development on the city's part.
Well, that's right. So
Yeah.
so you might be running into issues flying out of TF Green once they start
Yeah.
more construction down there. And it doesn't say how long it's going to last or when it's going to begin. So
Yeah.
and now JetBlue is flying to Puerto Rico.
Yep,
So,
they left
out
for
of-
the
out of Providence.
inaugural flight
So-
Yeah.
on Wednesday on Monday.
That's so that's good there. All right, we got to take a break here in the Coffee AM program. It's time for a second message, Tim, from Navigant Credit Union.
So, folks, it is the holiday season. And it's upon us, and if you are thinking about any of that last minute home improvement, and you've got a little bit of equity left in your house, please give us a call and take a look at our very competitive home equity loans and home equity lines of credit. The line of credit is simply think of it as a checking account. You get a book of checks, and you can draw off the equity as you need it, and then you pay it back on an adjustable scale. So the more you borrow, the more you pay. The less you borrow, the less you pay. However, a fixed home equity loan, which many people use because it gives you a fixed term and a fixed rate over, whatever that term is. So you've got a consistent payment schedule every month, and you know exactly what's coming your way. You get all the money up front, and then you just need to do whatever you do with your project. So navigantcu.org, you can learn all about those products on our lending site, on our lending page within our site, or you can give us a call at 233-4700 and ask as many questions as you want.
Very good, Tim. Time for the weather forecast being brought to you by Progressive Insurance.
Becoming mostly sunny today with a high of 73 and a breeze from the southwest. Tonight, partly cloudy skies, overnight low of 54. Thursday's weather mostly sunny with a high of 81. Friday, mostly sunny, 76. Saturday, sunshine and 56. Sunday, mostly sunny and 57. Monday, mostly cloudy and a 59-degree high. And on Tuesday, slight chance of a shower, mostly cloudy skies, high near 66.
Currently, outside the Navigant Credit Union broadcast studio at the corner of Park Ave and Kennedy Street with cloudy skies, we have 55 degrees. Progressive is proud to support veterans and small businesses with their annual Keys to Progress vehicle giveaway program, helping our heroes drive their lives forward. Learn more at keystoprogress.com.
Krakow Deli Bakery Smokehouse offers authentic homemade Polish food to make your next meal special. Try our many varieties of hot and fresh pierogies with onions and what they call dirty sour cream. Or pick up gołąbki, kielbasa, babkas, or some fresh rye bread. We also offer a large selection of specialty and imported foods. Open Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays, 9 in the morning till 6 p.m., Wednesdays, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., Saturdays from 8 to 5 p.m. It's Krakow Deli Bakery Smokehouse. Follow us on Facebook and learn about our weekly specials. Located at 855 Social Street, Woonsocket, Krakow Deli Bakery Smokehouse has all the authentic Polish foods you love. You know, when you're paying the right price for protection, you just know it. It's that warm, fuzzy, totally secure feeling, knowing that you're not only getting great coverage, but you're also not paying too much for it. And when it comes to your insurance, there's no one better at getting the right price for your protection than Allstate agents Kara and Celeste Benjamin, because they know when it comes to your bank account, every penny counts towards something bigger, something better. Like a nicer car, that home update you've been dreaming of, or a phone that's fresh out of the box. Those little or big things that we work so hard for. And Kara and Celeste Benjamin want to help you work a little less by getting you the coverage you need and the savings you deserve when you switch to Allstate. Contact Kara and Celeste Benjamin at the Benjamin Agency. One agency, 2 locations in North Smithfield and Bellingham. 765-5000 for a free quote today. Allstate, you're in good hands. And you're in good hands with Kara and Celeste Benjamin at the Benjamin Agency. Savings vary based on the average annual savings reported by new auto customers surveyed in 2019 who switched to Allstate.
It's Coffee and on ON Radio. Thanks for joining us. Joe Callahan here, along with Melissa Smith, Tim Draper, and we're being joined by John Ward. He's running for mayor of the city of Woonsocket.
He is.
Welcome back, John. Nice to have you here with us.
Thank you. Good to be back on Wednesday with the Wrecking Crew.
Woo-hoo. This segment of Coffee and is sponsored by John Ward for mayor. So you have an opening statement, John, you'd like to make?
I
do. Go right ahead.
First off, I'm running for mayor. I think many people have already voted for me, early voting, mail ballots. I sent letters to everybody that got a mail ballot, and I hope they supported me. And I'm running with a good group of people, and I'm going to spit them out alphabetically right now. They being Jim Canoyer, Michael Dubois, Dan Gendron, Roger Gillette, Chris Mellon, Denise Sierra, Michelle Stabor. I hope you can support all of those fine folks too, whether you're voting early between now and next Tuesday or on next Tuesday. There, took care of that important feature of the campaign.
Oh, okay.
So, what am I going to talk about today?
Well, I can ask you some questions, or you can talk about what you
first
brought
I
in.
want to ask these folks a question.
Okay, go ahead, John.
Now, I was driving here,
Oh, geez.
and I heard you talking about...
You're already ready to move into St. Antoine Community?
High heel savings accounts?
High yield savings accounts.
High heel savings accounts?
High heel savings accounts. Yes. There's
What's a high heel savings account?
for our? I can't even say it. There's so many things to say.
High yield.
Oh, I yield.
Yes,
I'm
yes,
sorry.
No, I like the high
I'm
heel though.
sorry.
That's actually a
high
really
heel.
cool idea.
Must be
Little
my
play
hearing.
on.
I heard
know.
high heel savings account. But okay, now I understand. I'm just kidding, of course.
right.
The other
I'm
thing, though, is to
cringing
compliment
right now.
Chris, compliment Tim on what he said about the Hamlet Avenue, except one thing.
Okay.
Hamlet Avenue was not actually on the gas company's list of roads to do. The
Okay.
city requested it because it needed to be repaved.
Yep.
And so the city requested that they go in and do those gas lines out of their normal cycle, and they did.
Yep.
And now that they've
That's right.
finished it, or they finished 90% of it, the section from the railroad tracks to the Court Street Bridge, they're going to mill it, and then they're going to repave that.
Yeah.
Because they're required, on the streets where they actually do the work, they're required to repave curb to curb.
Mm-hmm.
And as you say, they patch it, then they let it settle for a year, and then in the next season they pave the whole street edge
Mm-hmm.
to edge by milling it and putting a new top coat on. So that's what's happening with Hamlet Avenue. It's going to be coming out of our ARPA funding, not out of the gas company's funding, but it's going to get done, and that's a good thing because Hamlet Avenue needed that anyway. It's not a complete rebuild; it's just a resurfacing. So that takes care of that issue.
All right.
Shoot.
We got
Give me-
your opponent sent out a mailer to everybody in the city of Woonsocket yesterday, well, all registered voters, I would say. And I just want you to respond to some of the things that he put on this mailer, and see what your thoughts are on what he is saying about you. And you can respond or not respond. That'll be up to you. But the first one,
I'll
it
respond
just-
to all of it. I've had my coffee so I can remain
I know,
calm.
okay, I know you responded on Facebook on some of this, but not everybody has Facebook, so maybe they're hearing this for the first time. And it just says John Ward as council president. 1, lost financial control of the city to a budget commission. How do you respond to that?
Well, John Ward did not. The city was broke. The checkbook was empty. We were about to bounce paychecks and miss a bond payment. And so the city council got together on a Sunday for a special meeting, and we entertained a resolution to invite the state to come in to establish a budget commission. And in doing so, they would promise to advance us a full year worth of education funds, subsidies, to help us put money in the checking account to pay bills and get ahead of the game. And the sponsors of that legislation were John Ward, Daniel Gendron, and Christopher Beauchamp. So if you're going to put
Your name on it.
my name on the top of that,
Yeah.
Chris Beauchamp, you could put Chris Beauchamp's name on the top of that because he was one of the sponsors too. He sat in the meeting. He was a member of the council. He voted to do it. So you cannot isolate that problem to John Ward. And of course, dredging up that history is sort of unbecoming because it's like ridiculously unnecessary and meaningless at this point.
Okay. If you guys have questions for John too, feel free to jump in. But John Ward as council president, number 2, did not adequately plan for the reduction of state aid to Woonsocket.
I hate to do a Bill Cosby comedy album thing, but it's like, right. I'm supposed to plan personally for the reduction in state aid, to which my response is simply that, as again, Chris Beauchamp was on the council at the time. He didn't anticipate any of this. He was good friends with a state representative who was party to cutting our state aid, which turned out to be $11 million worth of state aid. And the person that he is such good friends with and a political ally of all these years that was in the General Assembly that was voting to slash our funding was none other than Lisa Baldelli Hunt. And there are interviews with Buddy Cianci where he challenges her to explain why she would vote to basically cut open the arteries of the city of Woonsocket that she's supposed to represent. And maybe he should explain why he didn't anticipate having his close relationship with Lisa Baldelli Hunt, that he should have known these things were coming and she should have warned him, as she should have warned the city, that we need to do something, even though we tried with a supplemental tax bill in 2012, which would have had us well on our way to solving financial problems. A year before after she recommitted the bill so we couldn't do it, and then the next year she helped shepherd it through so she could use it as a sledgehammer against Leo Fontaine in her run for mayor. So she put together a plan starting in 2012, and I guess she must have worked with her ally Chris Beauchamp because he ran with her as a council candidate in 2013. So it must have been part of their strategy, not my strategy.
Okay. I should mention to the listeners, if you have any questions or comments for John Ward, please call him in at 766-1240. Back to the mailer. It says John Ward is council president. Number 3, failed to pass policies fostering economic growth or generating revenue without raising taxes.
Yes, well, we have had 3 separate downtown overlay district tax stabilization agreement ordinances put in place, state law passed to accommodate that. That is to attract business. We did a tax stabilization agreement with Resch in order to induce them to come out of Franklin and bring their employees, Woonsocket employees, into our industrial park area. And they provided employment and tax base, and they did it through a tax stabilization agreement that the council worked on and passed, and I was a member of. We gave a tax stabilization agreement to a company that was coming in to do the expensive redevelopment of Sacred Heart Church, and with a lot of upfront cost without revenue stream until later in the project. And we gave him a tax stabilization agreement to get him through the process. And we've offered tax stabilization agreements to the companies that have been looking to develop the old middle school. Unfortunately, that's not going as well as it could be or should be, and I want to work on that. But yes, that's simply false information.
Okay. Away from the mailer for just a moment because it just popped into my head. Are you for or against self-storage at the Sears building on Diamond Hill Road?
Well, let's right now the ordinances that I helped approve say that we can only have self-storage in industrial areas. What they're looking for is a change to the ordinance to allow it in commercial C2 zones, which is, there's only 2 C2 zones in the city. One is the 2 plazas area along that side of Diamond Hill Road, and the other one is the social flatlands area. That's the only 2 commercial 2 zones in the city. And it was being considered because an investor was coming in who was proposing to do self-storage, indoor self-storage, at the Sears building and rehabilitate the plaza and possibly put some pads in for things closer to the street, because with less parking associated with self-storage, you wouldn't need all the parking space. You could do more development and build out there.
All right.
So you're talking about an increase of 100% of taxable value and almost $500,000 in extra revenue if they were to be allowed to do that. So we have to consider the impact on taxes against the inconvenience of more self-storage. But that is currently in a bidding battle with another company who wants to bring in, they claim to have a supermarket to come in, which will also enhance the value of the whole property and will have a tax impact. I just don't know that it'll have the same significant impact. But my position is we're not finished with that discussion. I'm not going to say that I'm in favor or against anything,
Okay.
because everything has to be evaluated for its impact on the taxpayers, on the quality of life, on the residential support that goes into that business, and whether or not those businesses can sustain themselves once they come.
What's your response to people that would say then we have enough self-storage in the city? We have
Well,
it on Diamond Hill Road. We got over here on Privilege Street.
Well, here's the thing about the capitalist society we live in. That is governed by market.
Okay.
You know, the market told the supermarkets to leave Walnut Hill Plaza, and they did, because they couldn't generate enough revenue and enough profit and enough customer base to sustain. So we've lost Stop and Shop and Shaw's from Walnut Hill Plaza over the years. We have a supermarket down the street, and we have supermarkets right on our border that will be competing with whatever supermarket comes into the city itself. So they have to evaluate their market. As far as enough self-storage, the self-storage company knows their market. They know populations, median household incomes, sizes of apartments that are being built and houses that are being built. And to their mind, Woonsocket only has about 70% of its capacity of self-storage. It's more than just people putting their sofa in there. There are many, many small businesses working out of the back of a truck that store all of their supplies, and they go to their self-storage unit daily to pick up what they need to go out and do a job. There's a lot of that goes on. And they know what their market is. And so I understand people's sentiment, and I frankly have no use for those rows of garage doors. And I've said that about this company. I said, if you're planning to put anything in the city, it better not be a row of garage doors. The place at the corner of Providence Street. Some people think it's an ugly behemoth, but to my mind, as self-storage goes, it looks like a nice office building,
Yeah.
and it masks itself very, very well. So it's much more appealing than a row of garage doors, orange garage doors, and that's my concern. So I can't think of this, and I've spoken with a few people about this. I can't think of this as myopically as we don't like self-storage, don't do it. It has to be look at the whole lay of the land, see where we are, see what we can do for tax revenue, see what we can do for the quality of life, and see if there really is a market for more self-storage. Because if it doesn't come here, you know where it's going to go? Right over the border.
All right, back to the mail that I want John to respond to. John Ward as council president. Number 4, led the vote to turn off streetlights to cut costs.
I don't know if that's a compliment or a criticism.
Well, I think it's supposed to be a criticism.
But it was to cut costs because, by the way, because Lisa wouldn't give us our supplemental tax bill, we had no money. But secondary. By the way, Chris Beauchamp was on that city council. I checked the date of the meeting that we did do the resolution authorizing the red capping of half of our streetlights, and yes, he voted for it. It was unanimous because we recognized that we simply, if we didn't do that, then we were going to not be able to pay for something else. And half the streetlights is better than no streetlights. Half the streetlights is better than no parks department. Half the streetlights is better than cutting firefighting staff and rescue staff. Half the streetlights is better than cutting some of the police department and our public safety. And it was temporary. And actually within 1 year, we were writing resolutions trying to turn them back on, but there was never enough money to do it. And so once we reestablished our financial base with the supplemental tax bill and all of the other things that went with it, the lights came back on. And oh, by the way, in 2015, 16, 17, the mayor did nothing to get LED streetlights into the city. When we were doing it with the town of Lincoln and 5 other communities, it was my invitation to the mayor in September of 2000, whatever year. I invited her to join our group to become part of the RFP so we could do the streetlight replacement with LEDs to save money, and she accepted it. And so we now have LED streetlights saving the city about $300,000 a year in electrical costs. So yeah, okay. I helped turn off the streetlights because it was necessary to save money. Chris Beauchamp was right there with me at my side, and it was me who induced the former mayor to replace the streetlights with LED streetlights sooner rather than later, and here we have them saving money.
All right, we're going to take a break here in the Coffee and program. So, John, you have purchased this portion of the segment of Coffee and. It's paid for by Friends of John Ward. Another statement from you, please.
Well, as I said, it's that time. We're up against it. The election's coming, and the candidates I'm running with that I mentioned earlier for City Council, we're going to be holding a rally just to get people excited, and it's going to be at Fairmount Post over on River Street on Sunday from 12 to 3. We're inviting people to come. We're asking for a $10 donation. This is not for candidates for office to collect money. All of the proceeds for the $10 will be providing dynamites and chips, and of course, from the Post, you can buy something to drink. But it's dynamites and chips that are going to be provided, and for $10 donations, all of the donations, all of the proceeds that we receive will be donated to veterans charities. They're nice enough to host us, and we're nice enough to give it back to the veterans organizations. So the public is invited to come down, bring a $10 bill, enjoy the time, and I'm even planning some door prizes for raffling off to help people with their Thanksgiving burden. I won't reveal what it is, but just know that we'll have a supply that we'll be raffling off. So come on down.
All right, thanks, John. And more on Coffee Ends coming up here on ON Radio. Comments and questions, call them in at 766-1240.
Integrity, trust, service. 3 words that sum up what you can expect from the Carew Investment Group at 2190 Mendon Road in Cumberland, Rhode Island. Established in 1987, we've been helping local investors to build wealth and guide them through their golden years of retirement using quality stocks of companies that you know, many of which pay quarterly dividends. We also use investment-grade bonds and low-cost exchange-traded funds. To find out more about our services and for a quality conservative approach to investing, call us at 765-8880. Integrity, trust, service. The Carew Investment Group, Securities offered through Bolton Global Capital, member FINRA and SIPC, and advisory services offered through Bolton Global Asset Management, a registered investment advisor.
Hi, my name is Yvette Houle, and I'm from Holy Trinity Parish here on Park Avenue. I would like to let everyone know that we are holding our annual Christmas Bazaar in our Parish Hall, 1371 Park Avenue, Woonsocket. It is also handicap accessible. The date is Saturday, November 9th, from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Featured will be many booths with handmade and crafted items, baked goods, penny social, gift certificate raffle, special raffle, split the pot, and theme baskets. Visit our Santa and take photos as well as give him your wish list. Our kitchen will be open for lunch, which will include the popular Dynamites, hamburgers, hot dogs, fries, onion rings, and Venus de Milo soup. If you have any questions, give me Yvette Houle a call at 766-5663.
It's Coffee In here on ON AM and FM. Thanks for joining us. I'm Joe Callahan here with Melissa Smith and Tim Draper and John Ward running for mayor. He has purchased the fourth segment of the Coffee In program, courtesy of Friends of John Ward. And so you get another opening statement for the fourth segment.
Yeah, this one's going to be about my turn for this last segment because consistent with past practice of the former mayor, this mayor is letting the city council learn about things through press releases and newspaper articles instead of informing us. And I had the displeasure of finding out yesterday from Providence Business News that Moody's has withdrawn the city's bond rating. That is consistent with what they did for Coventry about a month ago, because Coventry and Woonsocket have not provided the fiscal year 2023 audit results. And I don't have and tragically, I don't have a copy, and the city council has not been informed to have a copy of the report from Moody's that notified us of this, that was publicly disclosed on October 16th, 14 days ago. Now, I know how Moody's works. They had to do interviews with the administration, the finance director, the mayor, various parties involved in the finances of the city. And I've done it when I was in Lincoln. You have interviews over the phone, and then they issue a preliminary draft report for the administration to review, consider edits, make comments on, dispute, do that, sort of work it out with them to get to a final report, which apparently now we learn was issued on October 16th. I can't put it any other way because it's so meaningful, is that, you know, one of the charges against Lisa Baldelli Hunt for removal was her continuing failure to share critical financial information with the city council. Now, I happen to think Moody's withdrawing their rating for the city constitutes critical financial information that should be shared with the city council, according to our charter. A complete and utter failure to do that. I don't know why. I don't know if they were hoping that it would get done after the election. I don't know if it's to claim that I'm responsible for that, like that mailer did for everything else except Noah's flood. It's just, to me, unbelievable that they would have these conversations, they would have this decision come to them, they would have it emailed to them in a PDF file, and not immediately share it with the council. We had a meeting, a regular meeting on October the 21st. The finance director said nothing about it. The mayor wasn't there because of a toothache. And so here we are on the 30th of October, fortunately the week before the election in my mind, finding out about the fact that they withdrew our bond rating, which can be fixed. It doesn't change the rating. It's just that it can be fixed by simply getting caught up with what has to be done in the finance department. But in their report, apparently, they mentioned many of the same things that that were mentioned by the auditor who resigned, having to do with the lack of information, the inconsistency of information. I don't have the exact report, so it's hard to quote from it, except to paraphrase what's in this article from Providence Business News, and I'm sure we'll be spreading. But the troubling part to me is, you know, on every campaign across the nation these days talks about transparency. Well, it's bad enough there's no transparency to the public, but when there's no transparency to your own city council, the people who are your partner in trying to move the city's progress forward and not backward, it's just unacceptable, period. And I don't want to, you don't like to turn these things into campaign issues, but it is. He's
But now it
preaching
is,
transparency. He's preaching an open door policy, but apparently the door only swings one way. You got to go in. He's not coming out, because he's not coming out and telling us about stuff like this. That's, the one thing I said to the people when I learned this last night, we were talking down at Parkview Manor, we were talking to the folks, and I said to them, 2013, some of the things mentioned there, they got me thrown out of office. I didn't not do them to avoid the political punishment. I did them because they were the right thing to do. And I got thrown out of office. And you were probably here at the time when I came in after that, and I said, elections are very emotional things, and when people are hurting, somebody has to be punished. I was punished. I was perfectly comfortable with that. It's what happens. It's reality. 2022, we removed the mayor from office 6 weeks before an election, or actually 3 weeks before an election, and everyone except me got thrown out of office. Okay, it was very emotional. The mayor turned it into a story that was false and highly charged, and turned into a great negative, and ran with her team to tell everybody how awful we were and how good they were going to be. How did that work out for her? But the fact is, it's a very emotional response, and I understand it. I accept it. I think the people that ran with me, that are now running again, accept it. We understand it. It did not stop us from doing the right thing. And so this is just an example of the carryover of that tradition of the last administration that's so frustrating. And that, I can't count the number of times I heard Jim Canoyer and Dan Gendron at meetings saying, why is it the council always has to learn everything from press release or news reports? We don't get it firsthand right out of the administration. And this is another example of that. And it's tragic. And I think my record shows that I have no hesitation in bringing bad news and good news and dealing with it. I guess maybe that's not what the mayor does.
Where is the city now on the audit?
I don't know. And that's one of the things I'm going to want to have a conversation about on Monday night. What's the status of the audit? Get an update. I'm going to want to discuss this. I'm going to put in my request to speak on this matter and bring up a discussion of the status of the audit, whether through the auditor or through, maybe I'll even reach out to the auditor and ask him to give us a narrative update of where the status of the audit is. And because the auditors are hired by the council to work for the council, we're the ones that call for an audit of the city's records so that the council and the public can be made aware of it in compliance with the state law. So I will reach out and make that request now so I can find out how long we can expect this adverse situation to go on.
Okay. Back to we only got a few more minutes to go here in the program, but just back to the mailer once again. This says John Ward as council president. Number 5, did not implement any new procedures in the finance department despite extensive experience.
And especially because it would have been a violation of the city charter to interfere with the operation of the city administration by a council member.
I see.
So what can I tell you? However, again, another thing that Chris wouldn't
Could you
know.
have suggested?
Another thing that Chris wouldn't know when we were upgrading our software to a new software, the city was using the same software. I had an assistant finance director who was very adept and skilled at working with that software and had learned a lot and taken a lot of, basically went through all the manuals and stuff, and she was very good with it. And there were things that the city was struggling with that they had not been as up to date on certain things. And so what I could do as a councilman and a finance director using this and having staff that understood it was to say, Caitlin, would you please contact that person at City Hall in Woonsocket and go over these issues and see if you could be helpful in doing something? And that's what I did. But he doesn't know that because he doesn't know what I did. But I do. And so, yes, in the way that I could legally do it, I did it.
All right, and let's squeeze this one in before we have to end the program. John Ward is council president. While Ward has the most experience in city and school politics, the schools remain underperforming, and the city is still classified as distressed.
Well, this one is a simple answer.
Okay.
Chris seems to forget that I have not served on the school committee now for 19 years. So if they're underperforming, it has nothing to do what I do with what I did between 1995 and 2005. I assure you.
Okay.
As for the city still being distressed, I'll finish that sentence. Say the sentence again.
Let's see.
Just the end. Just the end.
The city is still classified as distressed.
Despite 10 years of the Lisa Baldelli Hunt administration. Period. End of discussion. Nothing to talk about.
Okay. All right. It does says experience matters, but it doesn't equate to progress if the record shows no improvement. This is back to you.
Despite 10 years of the Lisa Baldelli Hunt administration. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So, all right, you've addressed all the issues that were in the Chris Beauchamp mailer. So, thank you very much for doing
and
that.
I sent a mailer this week.
I know.
There's a show there too, and I just want to point out to people that if they've seen it, I'm sure by now, and it compares myself and Chris on 4 issues having to do with the $15,000 bonus they wanted to pay the mayor for not being in office, and the fact that Chris said that our investigation was a waste of time and money, and that he retained Mr. DeBrois, despite what was found out was that he was simply not telling us the truth on some of his disclosures to us, and the fact that they retained a part-time retired police officer to be human service director, who then got us jammed up with possible litigation over the fact that he disclosed confidential information that he should not have. And instead of terminating him immediately and getting him off the board of the housing authority, he simply said, people make mistakes.
Okay.
Excuse me?
Now, John's going to be on Coffee In again tomorrow with another paid position, so we can go over your whole thing again
We
tomorrow.
weren't the chosen ones.
Is it tomorrow?
You were the first chosen ones, Melissa.
Is it tomorrow?
It is tomorrow.
I think we've
It's not
been.
Friday.
Tomorrow is Friday. Oh, wait a minute.
Wow, Joe.
Well,
Come on, Joe.
You know, I've quoted my cartoon friends before, but here it goes again.
It's Friday.
It's Friday.
No, you're on. I got it down as Thursday.
Thursday?
Yeah.
I thought Dave told me
That
Friday.
could be. I mean, I'll have to go check my bill, but I'll work it out.
We have you on Friday too.
Oh, I'm here all the time.
Yeah, so it's one segment tomorrow and 2 on Friday.
Yes. I'll have to come up with something new to talk about.
Yes, please.
I'm sure I
Feel a
can.
little used.
Yeah, I'm sure I can. I'm sorry to have taken the record for his
Used to
time.
be us.
Yeah, I
It was
thought we were the
tried-
chosen
I tried
one.
to keep
The
them
chosen show is how he opened.
I tried to keep them entertained and informed.
And they were entertained.
We'll see if he comes back.
Borrowed
and
our
election's over.
audience. I feel
Whether he
used.
really likes us enough.
You got one more message, John, to do before we close out the show today.
It's simply this. I want to thank everybody who's expressed so much support during this campaign. It started in March at the Elks Club. It's going to finish in Tuesday at the Elks Club. That's where we're going to be to look for results, and so I invite everybody to come down to the Elks Club. We'll have some food provided to us by Broster House. That's going to be brought there and catered, and we'll have the hall, and we'll have lots of good people and a good time, and I'm sure we'll be celebrating something when we get there Tuesday night. And don't forget the rally on Sunday. We'll have a good time there too, and we hope to turn this into a joyous occasion, despite all the bad news that comes at us. We have to keep an open mind and think about all the good things that we can how we can turn these lemons into lemonade, and we'll do it.
All right, this segment of Coffee has been sponsored by Friends of John Ward. Thanks for coming in, John.
Thank you for the time, and
Appreciate it so much.
see you tomorrow.
All right, and Tim Draper, thanks for coming in.
Thanks, everybody, for having us. Thanks, Joe, for having us. And by all means, enjoy the God-given day.
Very good. And
The
Melissa
hot
Smith,
God-given
thanks
day.
for coming in.
Good to see everybody, John. Good luck next week.
Yeah, good
Everybody-
luck, John.
John, happy
Yep.
anniversary.
Oh yes,
to
November
Melissa.
1st. I heard
on
that.
Friday.
Happy
You'll be here
anniversary.
Friday. I expect an on the air. On the
air.
air.
Shout out.
Congratulations. I know.
My first message is dedicated to Melissa.
Thank you.
What's
you.
the
That'd be nice.
correlation between you and All Saints Day? Is this,
Oh yeah, that was strategic.
Oh.
Yep.
okay.
Yep,
A
absolutely.
wonderful strategic.
The audience loves her.
Yep.
That's right. All right, I'm Joe Callahan. Have a great day, everyone, and stay tuned for Gary Smith and the crew. Do you remember at 9:30 here on ON Radio?
Broadcasting live and local daily from the Navigant Credit Union broadcast studio at the corner of Park Avenue and Kennedy Street. This is WOON Woonsocket Radio. And now